Hereby call to order the Roseville City Council meeting for Monday, January 26th, 2026. Mr. City Manager, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Shorter.
Here.
Councilmember Groff.
Here.
Councilmember Bauer.
Here.
Councilmember Strawn.
Here.
Mayor Rowe.
Here. And with us at the dais, by way of introduction, we have our City Attorney, Rachel Tierney, who's on my right at the far end, our City Manager, Pat Trudgeon, who's on my left at the other end of the dais, and we will perhaps have other staff participating in the meeting. We'll make introductions as those folks may be involved. I do want to remind folks, if you do have a cell phone, to silence it or otherwise assure that it doesn't disrupt our meeting this evening. Also, for members of the public who are here and want to follow along with the agenda, there are extra copies of the agenda on the back table under the big clock by the door. There are also, or is one complete set of all the meeting materials located in a large binder there, which is available for members of the public to share and reference over the course of the meeting. That has all the materials that the council has before it to consider this evening. Do want to also note that if folks are here for public comment, we'll have an opportunity to explain sort of the rules of the road for that at that time. But otherwise, we'll ask folks if you're able to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right, next on our agenda this evening is to approve tonight's agenda, and as always, we'll check with staff to see if there are any changes that need to be made to the agenda this evening.
Mr. Mayor, we have no changes by staff.
All right. Any changes requested by council members this evening to the agenda, or items to remove from the consent agenda for separate consideration? All right. And we do also want to check with the audience if anyone is here for an item in Section 10 of tonight's agenda. That's at the end of the agenda. Section 10 is known as the consent agenda. These items are normally taken up as a single motion, and they are, as I said, towards the end of the meeting. And if anybody was here to either speak to or ask a question about one of the items in Section 10, it would be good to let us know at this time, and we can move that item forward in the meeting. Is there anyone here to speak to or ask a question about an item in Section 10 of tonight's agenda, otherwise known as the consent agenda? It does not appear to be the case. In that case, I think we can proceed with the agenda as presented. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved by Councilmember Groff, seconded by Councilmember Strawn to approve tonight's agenda as presented. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. And then before we proceed with the rest of the agenda this evening, the council has council and the city have a statement that I will read and make that part of the meeting proceedings this evening. The statement reads as follows. The recent actions of the Department of Homeland Security immigration enforcement agents in our community stand in direct opposition to the City of Roseville's core values of accountability, community, equity, safety, and integrity that are rooted in the engagement with our community. Our community is exhausted by the fear and disruption associated with the Operation Metro Surge and are heartbroken by the loss of life of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. Families hesitate to leave their homes for school or work or to run basic errands. Trust in public institutions has been shaken at its foundation. Our community cannot thrive when people are afraid. Public safety cannot exist without trust, and trust cannot exist where intimidation and fear are used as the governing tool. The actions of DHS and the support those actions receive from elected and appointed federal government officials undermine at best and violate at worst the rights and values guaranteed in our Constitution. We stand with our residents, our faith leaders, our educators, our businesses, and the countless community members who are acting every day to respond to these federal actions with courage and compassion. This community belongs to everyone who calls it home. As a local government, we commit to using every lawful tool and influence within our authority to support and protect our community. We will continue to center safety, dignity, and belonging in our actions in accordance with our core values. We commit to reducing harm, sharing accurate information, and standing alongside all those who are impacted. We cannot decide federal policy, but we can choose how we respond. We choose to respond with care, resolve, and an unwavering commitment to those who live and work in Roseville and visit Roseville. We unequivocally condemn the dangerous, divisive, and deadly actions of DHS and demand that these actions stop, not just in Roseville and in Minnesota, but across the nation, and that is signed by all of the council members. With that, then we'll move to our first opportunity for public comment this evening. This is our general public comment, which would be an opportunity for members of the public to speak on items that either may be related to city business or of interest to people in the community, but are not on tonight's agenda. We will have opportunities for public comment on agenda items, or the agenda item essentially as it comes up. But we do, once again, always provide this opportunity at the start of each meeting for general public comment, once again, not related to agenda items this evening. And we've got our first commenters here. I just do want to say for members of the public who may be coming up next to comment, once again, we do have the 3-minute time limit. We do ask that you state your name and either your street or address to identify yourself if you're comfortable with that, and address comments or questions to the council. Under the general public comment, there may be questions raised that we're not able to answer at this time, and we'll certainly work to make sure and get those answers to the public if those questions are raised. And with that, we'll recognize our first public comment this evening.
Hi, my name is Kathy Vermont. I live at 1161 Laurie Road West.
Monty Johnson, 1033 Brooks Avenue West.
And we also got,
I'm Bill Farmer from 640 Heinel Drive.
Mike Gregory, 1945 Sherndale Avenue.
and we're here tonight to talk about a project that we have, which is called Roseville Cares. And so, talking in spades with everything that's happening in our community here, I'm just going to read what I have. Roseville area is a community where caring actions happen all year long, whether it's helping a neighbor shovel their walk, volunteering to help a child read, hosting a food drive. Roseville Cares is a community initiative that spotlights caring actions in our community and inspires others to carry it forward. It began in 2025 with Do Good Roseville and the Roseville Area Optimist Club Character Development Initiative, promoting volunteer opportunities in the community. With 2026, we've expanded our planning committee to include other area service organizations and businesses. We know that people truly want to do good, but finding time and knowing where to start can be challenging. Roseville Cares Week makes it easy by offering simple, meaningful ways to get involved. It's a community effort designed to remove barriers and help everyone have a positive impact. Life gets busy, and it's easy to say we'll volunteer someday, next week, next month, when things finally slow down. Roseville Cares Week is a chance to hit pause on procrastination and join neighbors in doing something kind this week. Even a small act can make a big difference. With all of that said, knowing everything that's going on in our community and how much people are doing for their neighbors, we know that information's happening. We also know that people have more energy around wanting to do things than we can almost absorb in that effort safely. And so we also know that other organizations still need help. Like the city's business goes on, other organizations' business still needs to go on. And I'd like to make people understand that. Once you're ready to jump in, the big question becomes, what should I do? And don't worry, I'm Do Good Roseville. I've got plenty of ideas. You can choose from easy at-home projects, group activities, or opportunities with local organizations that are always happy to welcome new volunteers. It's a great place to get inspired and find something that feels just right. This year, we're also making a space for those who just do not have time to spare. You can do good by donating to our Roseville Cares Community Scholarship. No amount is too small, but it's when we pool small amounts that big things happen. So we have, if you go to the Do Good Roseville website, we've got a list of things there, opportunities there. We have a list of organizations that have volunteer opportunities. We have over 111 organizations that have been part of our volunteer fairs in the past. So there is something truly, you can find an organization that makes your passion. We've also underscored a number of organizations where you can make meals, get together a group of people, make a meal to serve for someone. We've got projects, you name it, we got a project. You want to make whimsical wigs, you want to write cards, there's a whole list of projects out there. And also what Do Good Roseville does often is host a collection. We're doing a food collection right now, but there's other types of needs within the community. So I just want to encourage everyone that if people do come up with a project or something they want to do that's really knowing everything else that's going on in the community, knowing that they do that, if they let us know or send us pictures, we want to know about that and share that information to show everything that's going on. But at the same time, we've got other stuff going on, and Monty's going to talk about that.
This year, we're excited to add to our Roseville Cares Week appreciation event for first responders. They are at the forefront. The other thing that we've, in talking to the chiefs, we understand that they are the people who see those most in need, people that are unseen sometimes. And so we are, as part of that, we are gathering a significant amount of gift cards. We've raised some decent money to be able to do that so that these folks can then help out those people most in need that we might not otherwise see or know about. There's also Every Meal project for that first Friday in with the Optimist Club and with the Kiwanis also helping out. The Rotary is also helping out. So we have a number of community groups, businesses, Blaze, others coming together to make, just so everybody knows that Roseville really does care. And we really see that these kind of T-shirts are going to be the singular most popular apparel item in Roseville over the next 10 years. So we're really excited about just the momentum. Partnering with Do Good Roseville has been fantastic because they represent the kind of character that our character development initiative is all about, and what you spoke to, Dan, as part of that proclamation. That ties into right what we're trying to do.
And again, I just have to end by saying, we know we're not going to know everything that's happening in our community right now with everyone that is literally putting their lives on their line to protect their neighbors. And I'm looking forward to the day when we can talk about what's happened in our community when we get through this horrific situation. But so there's going to be a lot of unsung heroes right now, and I just want to really respect everyone in our community that's doing that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And again, that's next week, January 31st through February 8th, Roseville Cares Action Week in Roseville. And once again, more information is available at the Do Good Roseville website. So appreciate you being here this evening and letting folks know about that. And hopefully everybody that has the opportunity will take advantage of that and contribute in some way. Right, is there anyone else for general public comment this evening? Hello and welcome.
Good evening. My name is Angela Byrne, 15-year Roseville resident. I have a few points I wanted to share tonight. The first is that I am hearing from my network that Roseville police are being spotted talking to ICE officers. I sure hope they are doing the right thing, encouraging them from moving away from spaces like elementary school parking lots, businesses, and other places where they should not be gathering. However, that sentiment of trust is not what I am hearing from my network. They do not know what is happening, so they are scared. I am here to let you know that you better get real clear on police involvement, because we will not have any trust to build on after this. It is not an assumption that our police are here to protect everyone, for every one of your constituents. That is not a given. Second, I want to speak directly to Councilmember Strahan's behavior last Thursday night. You do not get to raise a fist and call at the call for ICE to leave our city and then have the audacity to loudly lecture your constituents from the dais about the tone of our anger. You eagerly leapt into this race for council in 2020. And if you're confident in your work in this and your engagement in this community, you all wouldn't be defensive, and you specifically would not have yelled at us on Thursday night. Learn how to hold our anger. Learn how to hold the discomfort. Because I would gladly trade it, and you should gladly trade it for the safety of our community. This work is literally life or death for all of the rest of us on the other side of this dais. To all of you, I will give you this reminder again. If this work does not cost you anything, if this work does not cost you people in your networks that criticize you, if this does not cost you comfort in your family spaces, in your friend spaces, in your places of worship spaces, if this work does not cost you opportunities, and if you are not getting hit by the same stones that are hitting the people that you represent, then you are not, in fact, doing the work that is being called on in this moment. We all need to be standing arm in arm, taking these stones for our neighbors. And lastly, I will not yield any of my time tonight. I have about 45 seconds left, and I'm going to hold this space for our neighbors and our constituents who are still trapped in their homes. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to speak under general comment this evening? Hello and welcome.
Hello. Hi, Carrie Gelly. I live in Roseville, 36 years, near Dale Street and Highway 36. And I think I have more questions. So, first of all, thank you for the statement you read earlier, Mayor Rowe, in denouncing the illegal activities of immigration agents in our city. So thank you for that. But I do have a couple questions, and if they're answered at any point in this meeting, that's awesome. Or if you answer them on email or however you can answer them. And I suspect that other folks have similar questions. So my first question, I'll try to stay in my time. Looking at the agenda, and I might be missing this, but I looked at the agenda a day or two ago, and I thought I saw that there was a resolution about asking the governor for the eviction moratorium. And I'm not seeing that on here, so am I missing it right now?
No, it is still part of our
It is,
consideration.
okay, perfect, great. Then I guess this is a comment, and I'll wait till this comes up, but agenda item number 10F, I have a concern about approving that based on evidence that I've been receiving in community about who might be actually renting that location, at least in the short term. That's a safety risk for our community. Then last question, I guess. So agenda item number 11B talks about the future agenda. I'm not super well versed in how city council meetings work, but so I guess my question is that when you'll kind of let us know what will be on the next agendas? And based on Thursday, the 22nd meeting, what I'm expecting is that some of the follow-up from that meeting might be whatever progress between council and staff is made up to that point would be shared with us, like whatever different city departments have as suggestions to support community. And then, and maybe that follow-up discussion of reworking the police procedure in relation to immigration enforcement would be on that agenda. And then what's helpful for me as just the way I learn and how I take in information is if you're presenting us something new, tell us it's new and it didn't exist before. If it is an update or a change, if you could show us on screen and tell us this is what we had before, this is what we are going to do now. Just making it as clear as possible to community so we understand. And like Angela, I'll use the 12 seconds left to hold space for community. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other comments this evening under general public comment? Hello and welcome.
Hi, good evening. My name is May. I live on 1901 Ryan Avenue in Roseville. I've been here for a while, love our city very much. As you can see, I am not, I don't look like the rest of you. I am a first-generation Hmong immigrant, and we've been here for a long time. And the recent ICE activities have profoundly impacted us and a lot of people of color. And I do, as much as I appreciate your statement against ICE at the beginning, I am wondering, would the city of Roseville take it a step further? Would you be able to, or would you be willing to, I should say, mandate that ICE actually are not covering their face and that they are identifiable? Because it is absolutely terrifying for anyone to be grabbed by mass people. I can't imagine what that would feel like. To have your windows broken in, to have your doors broken, and have mass people grab you. And you would have no idea who these perpetrators are. You have no idea who these people are. Is it really a federal government person? or is it someone else? Would Roseville be willing to make any mandate or demand that the federal government identify themselves, show their faces, so that the people know who is in front of them, who is taking them?
Thank you for your comments.
And I'm asking, will you consider that?
Actually, on our meeting of the 21st, we did have some discussion about that, and there are limited abilities for cities to tell federal agencies what they can do in that regard. I believe, as we noted, there was some litigation out in California about
Correct.
what
California's
California's
looking
at
into
doing.
that.
Right. So we're
Will you
sort of,
pioneer that? Would you be willing to put your constituents ahead of this tyranny?
well, like I said, we had that conversation on the 21st, and I think we're still looking at what's going on with that matter. So we don't have any further information at this time for you.
I feel like
I have to say, this isn't a conversation at this point. This is
Yeah.
public comment, and so we appreciate your input and your comments. But we do have to proceed with our agenda as well.
I'll give you that's 3 minutes.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak under general public comment at this time?
I'll jump in. Should I sign in, or is
You
it
can just
cool.
say your name.
I'm Andy, over on County Road C and Rice by like Acorn Park. It's a great spot. I don't know, just a couple notes. I didn't really plan anything. Like, can you guys blink twice if you're held here against your will? Right? Like the Roseville City Council is like you guys could resign or whatever if you want at any point in time, right? Like there's no no one's forcing you to be here, right? So I just like kind of coming off of the last one, same sort of camp, like. You guys are up on the dais, right? You guys are the representatives of the city. I don't know any of you individually. I don't particularly hold any malice towards you individually, but as the representatives of the city, the buck stops somewhere, and it's like right here. And I just making sure that like you guys don't have to be here. You could leave. And then just kind of in agreement on not renewing the short-term rental. That seems awesome, right? Like that's something you guys could do right now. Very compelling evidence that there are unsavory characters staying there. Why let them? That's great. Make it so it's harder to do. Another one that's been sort of on my radar is these flock cameras. We had some emails back and forth. I read the policy. The federal government is like putting lists together of citizens that they think are disruptive, right? Like, and they're partnering with Palantir. I mean, it's far-fetched to me to imagine that the federal government cannot use the flock cameras legally, illegally, with your knowledge, without your knowledge, in any capacity. And I think the answer is to just not make the data, right? Like making that data, having that data exist, leaves it open to be abused by people, and we just shouldn't have it. So I would make a pitch for getting rid of those. And then I guess just another pitch, while the iron is hot and we're hearing about the police partnering with federal agents in some capacity. I see all these videos. I do not see any police I'm super happy about. And as I understand it, they all stand behind the same thin blue line. I think it's a great time to think about freezing funding to police, decreasing funding to police, taking resources from that organization and putting it anywhere else in a way to help people, in particular, while we're in crisis. And that's all I got. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else who wishes to comment during general public comment this evening? All right, seeing no one then, we will proceed with the rest of our meeting. And thank you again to folks who participated this evening in the general public comment. Next on our agenda, we have recognitions and donations. We have 2 proclamations and then also accepting some donations for the Parks and Recreation Department, or to the Parks and Recreation Department. So the first proclamation is in regard to Black History Month in Roseville. I will read the proclamation, and then a motion from the council to approve would be in order. The proclamation reads as follows. Whereas the City of Roseville is committed to recognizing and honoring the contributions of all members of our community, And whereas Negro History Week was established in 1926 by Dr. Carter Godwin Woodson as a way to neutralize the deliberate distortion of Black history. And whereas this movement grew over the years to Black History Month to give an objective and scholarly balance in American world history. And whereas the month of February was selected as Black History Month because it marks the birth of Frederick Douglass, W.E.B. Du Bois, Langston Hughes, and Abraham Lincoln, who were all leaders whose actions greatly impacted the lives of Black Americans. And whereas the contributions African Americans made and continue to make in building our nation's infrastructure and economic strength, as well as our history, music, arts, national defense from the Revolutionary War to present day, written words and discoveries and inventions are often overlooked. And whereas on January 1, 1863, the Emancipation Proclamation set the United States on a path of ending slavery, and on August 28, 1963, hundreds of thousands of Americans of all backgrounds joined the March on Washington, which was led by Martin Luther King Jr., the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, James Framer, Congress of Racial Equality, John Lewis, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, A. Philip Randolph, Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters, Roy Wilkins, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, and Whitney Young Jr. Of the Urban League in Pursuit of Jobs, Justice, and Freedom, to the Memorial of Abraham Lincoln in Washington, D.C. And whereas, despite all the progress, the legacy of slavery and segregation still persists in our nation in the forms of mass incarceration, the school-to-prison pipeline, racial profiling, educational inequalities, housing and employment discrimination, racism, and bias. And whereas in 2026, Black History Month honors the theme, A Century of Black History Commemorations, that focuses on the various and profound ways that work and working of all kinds, free and unfree, skilled and unskilled, vocational and voluntary, have shaped our country. And whereas the city invites all members of the community to renew their commitment to inclusion, racial equality, justice, creating a community where all belong, and to participate in the activities designed to advance the cause of freedom and equality for all, now therefore be it resolved, the City of Roseville declares February 2026 to be Black History Month in the city.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Groff, seconded by Councilmember Strawn. Discussion on that motion.
I think it's really a good reminder with some of the things that are happening nationally that this is still an issue and becoming more of an issue every day, with some of the museums having problems on a national level.
Yeah, actually, information being removed, historical information being removed from
Exactly.
museums.
So I think this is maybe something we need to really pay attention to and add a little bit to if things continue. So that's why I'm making the motion.
Thank you. Other discussion on the motion? Councilmember
I would
Strawn.
just like to add to that the contributions of African Americans to our medical research isn't highlighted here, but is especially important as we think of Henrietta Lacks, Tuskegee, and the unfortunate and unwelcome contributions they made to our overall safety can't be ignored. I know that we have celebrated Juneteenth as an organization and as a city for the last few years, and I know we try really hard to make sure if we have a statement that it is reflected in an action, and I feel that each year it's gotten a little bit larger and reflects a commitment to making sure that this is more than words. So I hope we continue to make that partnership.
And thank you. Is there other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the proclamation signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. The second proclamation is in respect to Optimist Day in Roseville. We just heard from a few of the representatives of Optimists in regard to Action Week in Roseville next week. The proclamation reads, whereas volunteers working with young people who are our joy of today and our hope of tomorrow are exuberant representatives of the potential to be reached and the dreams to come true. They are all unbounded in their enthusiasm to use their own talent, skills, and hard work to make a difference in others' lives. And whereas members of Optimist International will celebrate Optimist Day throughout the world the first Thursday of every February to promote their efforts in helping and recognizing the young people that make a difference in their communities and who encourage greater exchange of ideas between young people and adults. And whereas there are over 2,400 Optimist clubs with more than 70,000 members among Optimist International and Optimist members throughout the world that carry out more than 6,500 service projects that serve 6 million young people each year. Now therefore be resolved that the City of Roseville recognizes Thursday, February 5th, 2026 to be Optimist Day in the city. May this day instill pride in our city's optimists for all of their accomplishments and for the impact they have to truly make a difference in others' lives.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved by Councilmember Schroeder, seconded by Councilmember Groff to approve that proclamation. Discussion on the motion.
You know, the Optimist Club and has done such really good work. I've had fortunate to see what the Roseville branch does, and so I'm glad to be able to support this.
All right, other discussion on the motion?
They've done a lot of work with Ukraine and youth in Ukraine and bringing students over here to experience some things, and I think it's been really an important work that I've seen them do. It's hard to have an Optimist Day today, but
I think their name of their group is intentional.
yes, I know.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, for all times. Times when it's easy to be optimistic and times when it's less easy,
Probably more important today than ever.
certainly. Is there any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of that proclamation signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. And then thirdly, we have the opportunity to accept some general donations to the Parks and Recreation Department. And I'm not sure who is bringing that forward for our consideration this evening. Looks like our Parks and Rec Director, Matt Johnson.
Yes, thank
Welcome,
you.
Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is a rather formal business item, but one that certainly warrants some highlight. I'm here tonight to officially accept donations in the amount of $29,081 that were donated to the Parks and Recreation Department over the past year. These donations were received as a combination of cash and in-kind contributions, and it is required by state law that these be officially accepted by the City Council, and therefore a resolution exists in your packet to officially accept these donations. These donations range from, in dollar amount, from $20 all the way up to just over $14,000, and are an example of the wide-ranging commitment that this community has to its parks and recreation services. These funds are utilized for both specific projects and general uses, and used both to reduce impact on the city levy as well as augment exceptional projects. Some examples of projects that these funds went to were updating the Roseville Ice Arena sound system, replacement of split rail fencing at the Muriel Celine Arboretum. The Central Park flowers are all fully donated, as well as even our updated Roseville puppet wagon. I also do want to note that a significant number of these donations were made in memoriam of advocates of our Parks and Recreation system who passed away over the past year. And again, we just want to take a moment and actually note that. In addition to the donations that are in the packet and this resolution, another $115,000 were donated for specific projects that were accepted earlier in the year, making the total amount donated over the past year to our Parks and Recreation system just shy of $145,000. I highlight that not to in any way say that we do some fantastic job of soliciting funds, but instead to highlight the outstanding commitment that our community has to the Parks and Recreation system. And before turning it back over to you, Mr. Mayor, on behalf of the staff, I do want to explicitly thank those that contributed to our Parks and Recreation system in any dollar amount, but in addition to financially through advocacy and volunteerism over the past year. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Very well said. And those thanks and those things that we're thanking people for are very well appreciated by the community. We do have the resolution accepting those donations. That's attachment 1 to this item. Are there any questions, first of all, for staff? Councilmember Schroeder.
Not a question, but I am just so amazed that the volunteerism we have in Roseville, and I think you mentioned it. It's not just the dollar amount, but the amount of time people are willing to commit to keeping this community going, and then these different organizations too that are willing to augment and make things even better in our community. I just want to say thank you for everyone who helps. And your name might not be on this list, but for all the help you've done as well.
All right, do we have a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Schroeder. I think Councilmember Strawn got the second on that. Discussion on the motion. Anything else to add, Councilmember Schroeder? Councilmember Strawn?
I'd just like to especially shout out the Blooming Boulevard, in addition to the volunteers, as Councilmember Schroeder mentioned. You can get a tiny, tiny little plot if you volunteer. There are so many people who want to volunteer to plant flowers and to really augment the city in that way, that you get a tiny little section and a few little flowers because there's so many people who want to contribute, and it's such a beautiful contribution throughout the year. It really just continues, and people comment on it regularly, what a lovely addition is as you kind of come down Lexington and see those lovely flowers. So we are thankful for all of the donations for sure, but that one is one that is particularly notable just because it's something we see every day. So thank you to all, though.
I wanted to check with Mr. Johnson. Is there any problem naming the folks that the memorial donations are given in the name of?
There is not, no.
Okay. Then I would want to note that there was a couple of donations totaling approximately $250 as a memorial to Marilyn McGuire. There was a memorial of about $150 to Paul W. Warner, and then a number of donations that add up to several $100s in the memorial to Donald Glendy. I believe also the Verning family also made a contribution as well, VIRNIG, Verning. Thank you once again to everybody who's donated, and we especially appreciate those memorials and the honor to those individuals for their interest and love of our parks. With that, we have the resolution before us as a motion. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes unanimously, and those donations are accepted. Thank you again, Mr. Johnson, and to all the donors. That brings us to our one business item we have this evening, which is to discuss Roseville's 2026 legislative priorities. Of course, the legislative session at the state level is beginning on February 17th, and so this is timely to get this together in time for the communication of our priorities to the representatives at the legislature. Prior to that, and I'll turn over to Mr. Trudgeon to bring this item for the council's consideration after our initial discussion earlier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. As noted in the RCA, we did have a first look at these priorities at the January 5th meeting. We reviewed the 2025 priorities, decided that most of them were still relevant, but wanted to bring back several for conversation. And we do have the addition, since it went to print, the packet went to print about the eviction moratorium, and I'll get into that here in a second. So we had divided our priorities up between high and other priorities. The distinction there being if it's a high priority, that is something that we actively advocate for at the legislature, either through testimony at public hearings, involvement of staff and city council to advocate for that directly. So we have four currently that actually were priorities last year as well. One is to seek financial support for the capital improvements at the Oval. That's something we've had on our list for quite a long time. We have received funding in the past, but we have one last batch of funding that we need to have to complete the work that's needed there. We also had a priority about allowing local units of government to designate the licensed ambulance service area. Right now it's governed by state law, and cities don't really have any input. There's no accountability by the providers as well, so we like to have some more ability to control that, so we can have quality service and good response times for our residents. We also have prioritized enacting statewide licensing of massage therapists. This has been an ongoing conversation. Currently, each city licensed massage therapists. As we know, there are situations at some massage therapy establishments where there's human trafficking going on, and we try to do our best to stay on top of it. But as it's licensed on an individual level at the at the local level, it's really hard to know what the standing is oftentimes, and we think the best course of action is to have a statewide licensing system that can track better violations and or bad actors in the massage therapy business. So we would like to see that change. And then finally, we had a law about modifying state law regarding park dedication. Currently, it is based on a land subdivision. We have many parcels of land where it's already somewhat developed and it's a redevelopment. For instance, maybe putting up 200 apartment units. We are not able to collect park dedication fees because it's not technically a land subdivision. So we want to have that ability. There's many other cities in the metro that are also advocating for the same thing, so it's kind of a coalition approach on that. I would note that none of those 4 items really had any traction this first year of the session, so we're in the second year of the session, so we would hopefully see some action. Moving on to the
Actually,
other.
just if you could note, did some of them have legislation introduced, however?
Yeah, the statewide licensing of massage therapists did have legislation. There's nothing about the ambulance service provider or the park dedication.
Okay.
The oval funding, I guess, was applied for and was floating around, but not included in the final bonding bill at the end of the day. But we did testify on that.
I believe there was some legislation that was done, and not directly related to this ambulance service. However, there was some changes in law for rural ambulance.
For rural, yes.
Yeah, so there was some movement, not fully, but.
Right. And I think some funding came along with that to help them out.
And there is, I believe, a working group associated with that
Yes,
topic as well.
and our chief is involved in that. So
Okay.
Can I say something about the massage therapist licensing? I think one of the problems we've had in the city, when it's locally, quite often they'll get shut down, but then they just move to another municipality, and it's hard to track that when it's all local instead of being statewide. So I just want to be sure the listeners understand that part of it.
yep. Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, we actually, as I like to point out, we have statewide licensing and regulation of cosmetologists in the state.
Right.
But we don't have it for massage therapy. And, you know, it doesn't make sense with all the issues with trafficking and all that. All right.
Okay, so moving on to other priorities. I see that first bullet point actually should have been removed. That we're going to have further discussion on that, so that wasn't necessarily kind of tasked to remain. The other ones we do look to maintain here is allow for the use of city websites and other technology-based methods for official notices. We're interested in seeing police officer arbitration reform to give cities better power to have discipline in place. We do support efforts for the Department of Labor for advanced energy standards as part of the state building code to require that, and other things other regulations and incentives for green construction. We also would like to see continued funding for local governments for Emerald Ash Borer. There has been funding in the past. It kind of goes up and down. We have been real successful in leveraging state funds to deliver our Emerald Ash Borer program, and we'd like to see that funding continued. And then we'd also like to see continued funding for mental health services and resources for public safety. As you know, we've really leaned into that with our training of our officers for many years and embedding social workers. So we want to continue to see that support for that. We did talk about adding a couple other items. The first bullet point is something that actually we've kind of had as part of our legislative priority for the last couple of years, but not so in so much words. This is about the missing middle housing and the local preemption. We've sent letters in the past as bills have been considered. So I think the idea was to have a direct priority listed in here, and my guess that would be probably located in high priority, and that would read, support the continuation of local decision-making authority over zoning, land use, and affordable housing issues, and oppose one-size-fits-all zoning, land use, and affordable housing frameworks imposed on cities through legislation. The other two that we have added is the reestablishment of the local cannabis aid account to provide ongoing funding to cities to assist with costs related to local implementation of legal adult use cannabis. When the cannabis law was passed originally, there was some dollars coming to local cities that had dispensaries for enforcement. That was removed last year. And so I think the idea is that we should receive some state funding to help with any enforcement efforts that we do. I would note that is a priority, I think, for both Metro Cities and League of Minnesota Cities. So I've placed that in the other priorities for now, meaning that others will carry that weight, but we will certainly support that. And then also, we wanted to add some language about having state funding to help state and local law enforcement agencies prevent and respond to street racing and carjackings. This is consistent with a lot of our focus over the years about auto theft and the carburetor law as well. So this is continued funding for that. And I know that's a priority for sure for Metro Cities. I think it was for the league as well. And so to acknowledge that, we want to put it in our priority as something, but it would be another priority. Then we discuss the following items that were in the 2025 priorities, whether or not they should be in there or reworded or thought of differently. One is the creation of sustainable alternative funding sources for cable commissions, i.e. broadband franchise fees. There has been some movement, apparently. The first broadband franchise, I think in the country, certainly in the state, was done in Woodbury for broadband. So I've included some information in the packet about that. Michael Bradley, who's the communications attorney for many agencies in the state of Minnesota, but also 9 North, which is our local cable commission, has been at the forefront of that, and he provided some information. He unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, but gave some background. And from the way I understand it, there was just a recent court case that, at least in his analysis, has broadband providers treated differently than a telecommunications agency, which is regulated differently. So there are some opportunities there, and whether or not that is a legislative priority, we get the law change, or it's just something that we focus on. I do know, in talking to other managers and administrators, many cities are having this teed up for a conversation, and everybody's trying to figure out kind of what to do. So whether or not we include it in the priorities, I think it's something that we'll have to have continued discussion on and continue to partner with 9 North as well on that. And then also wanted to talk about amending the state building code that would allow municipalities to require sprinkler systems in what are known as R2 or multifamily occupancy groups. This is something that we've had on our priority list since 2018 or so, 2019. Up to about 2,000 any apartment buildings or multifamily buildings did not require to have sprinklers. Since that time, they have been required. So knowing our age of our housing stock, we have many multifamily buildings that are unsprinkled, and the fire department is a strong advocate for sprinkling. It does save lives and property damage. This is something that obviously raises costs for new construction, or for retrofit, because new construction is required to do that. They feel it's very important to keep that on, but I think we wanted to bring that back for discussion. Unfortunately, Chief Brosnan can't be here tonight, so he did provide a memo, and so we can certainly have a conversation about that. Last but not least, wanted to talk about having a priority around urging the governor to have an executive order to impose a temporary eviction moratorium to protect the residents and businesses harmed by the federal government's immigration enforcement agencies. So that is a priority. You can see the wording is there. We've also drafted a letter to be sent to the governor and a resolution that asks for that to happen. Those are in your packet for your consideration. I would suggest, if that's something we want to do, we would look to pass a resolution and direct staff to send that letter to the governor. I would note there's one small change to the letter that Councilmember Schroeder asked for, and that is highlighted in yellow regarding providing resources to whether it's the landlords or housing providers and homeowners, some financial resources dealing with that effect of that moratorium if they're not collecting rent or able to pay their mortgage. So that is something we can certainly add to the priority, and if we do, I would say that would be high priority. That would be something we directly advocate for. And I think our immediate action we can take today would be to approve that resolution and authorize that letter to be sent down to the governor. And with that, I will pause to see if there's any questions. My intention is to hear the feedback tonight and then bring back the final list at the February 9th meeting for official adoption, and that'll be in time for the legislative session.
Great, thank you, Mr. Trudgeon. And I did want to note two things on those items for discussion. One is that it does appear from the information from Attorney Bradley that the environment for that particular type of franchising seems to, from that court case, be such that pursuing a legislative solution allowing for the franchising, A, given that it hasn't been successful in recent attempts, and B, given this new landscape, perhaps is unnecessary. I think it does make sense. So it may not need to be a legislative priority, but I think as a city, we may want to make sure that we're having those conversations with our cable commission and fellow cities the 8 other cities to see if that's a pursuit that we can undertake to get that franchising capability underway, so that as there are broadband rollouts in Roseville, we may be behind a couple of instances already, but certainly if there are new, it seems to be something that a number of companies are getting into, that we have that potentially in place. The other one on the fire code, since I had brought that up, the main thing is just it had been on our priorities list for a number of years and didn't seem to be getting any traction. If the fire department is still advocating for it, and if it remains an other priority, I don't know that I would take it off the list on the basis of that, but I would be open to other council members' thoughts on that. Councilmember Schroeder.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one more, when we were talking about the eviction moratorium, I just wanted to explain why I added that line in here, adding the financial resources, because if the way this was written, it was mainly for renters, and I think Roseville has really promoted first-time home ownership and worked really hard with Habitat for Humanity and other programs to get people to own their houses. And so I would want to make sure that if this Operation ICE stuff is affecting renters, it's probably affecting homeowners too, and I want to make sure we don't exclude them. But then also, there's some very small landlords too, the mom and pops ones that I know during the COVID crisis, that some of them had some big issues, as well. But the main thing I said about the resources is because the state has a sales tax for housing that they're collecting, and I would think that they could use some of that to help fund these programs, because it is about housing. So that's why I said about the resources, that I think we don't necessarily have to spell it out, but that's where my thoughts were. One, they have the sales tax at the state level they could use to help out, and two, I just wanted to make sure we did not exclude particularly homeowners, especially first-time homeowners, that they might have issues as well.
And just on that note, it may make sense to talk not just in terms of eviction moratorium, but perhaps a foreclosure moratorium or something like that.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure
Just
how.
related once again to the mortgage holders.
Yep.
I did want to check the state sales tax related to housing. Is that entirely distributed to communities for expenditure, or is there a portion of it that's maintained at the state, or do we know for sure?
I don't think we know for sure. We certainly get a local appropriation of that. So we're going to be talking about how we should distribute that. I do not know if the state retains any of that, so that's a really good question.
I think regardless of the answer to that, I think we have at least had some preliminary discussions, or I have, with our community development folks about, and we've got a planned discussion about more broadly our housing funding and our use of our local sale, or our local share of the state housing sales tax, about providing some of that assistance. I would be comfortable still noting in our request to the governor, that assistance be provided. I wouldn't necessarily specify where it's coming from or what the source is, but just because of the fact that just doing the moratorium on the evictions takes care of the people that are facing that. But I think we do want to try to keep our housing system as financially whole as we can through the process, because the last thing we want to do is, as you were noting with mom and pop type property owners and small multifamily, that those folks are providing most of the time what's known as naturally occurring affordable housing to people, and if they're not able to continue in that business and provide that housing, that doesn't help the housing system or the housing situation in our community. So I would be supportive of that sort of language. Councilmember Bauer, and then
I guess following up with that request, one of the problems with those local, that sales tax, housing sales tax, I believe in Minnesota law, it's mostly directed towards what we can, we're very limited on what we can do with those funds. Most directly, there's assistance, we'll talk about this, as you mentioned, during the EDA, that it's really for rent assistance, and it'd be nice, I don't know if we want to include something here, but allow more ability for also ownership assistance as well. It'd be nice
adding flexibility
adding
with the state
flexibility,
sales tax,
right?
Okay.
Because right now, if that was there and changed, that would allow us to then help both renters and homeowners Right now, we can only help via the EDA and those funds with renters. So it'd be nice to add just some wording into this kind of note that flexibility. I feel like that's a much easier step to a more near-term solution that might be more quick and accessible. The funds are already there. It just changes what restrictions we have with them. There might be a little bit of flexibility with that because if you go through those restrictions, there is a thing at the very end that says, or other programs approved. So we may, as a city of Roseville, and talk about this during the EDA when that comes up, but we should definitely seek, besides maybe doing this, send a letter and try to work with Minnesota Housing Authority, I believe it is.
Housing Minnesota.
Housing Minnesota, to see if we can't get that approved, at least for our municipality, because that's something we could do without the governor. That's just them as an administration or administrative body approving that.
Sure. And so there's a couple of different things going on here.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah. And I will say also that I had reached out to our staff about the possibility of using the LAHA funds or the local housing sales tax for mortgage assistance as well. And so that's already something that they were going to be doing some research into. But I understand that there may be some restrictions there, or that you have to get the special permission for those special
correct.
cases. So it sounds like the ask is that we want to provide for the moratorium on evictions and potentially related to foreclosures as well, and provide the financial assistance to help with the renters, homeowners, et cetera, and then also that flexibility for cities to use the LAHA funds.
I'm
more
comfortable with this document as is, with the note of directing staff maybe in this paragraph where it begins.
Well, we won't direct staff in our letter to the governor.
Sorry,
but,
I mean, sorry to make the change, but something where the local governments have limited authority to maybe write something in there to provide.
add more authority. For,
And more authority
yeah,
to
or
allow
flexibility.
assistance.
Certainly.
So
Because I
with-
think local governments are really looking for ways to spend that money because
That is the problem.
It can't be used on existing programs.
And that's a situation we have in areas that are built up that don't have necessarily as large apartment stock, such as Roseville.
All right.
So I'd be supportive of that.
Are you making notes, Mr. Trudgeon? All right.
And then I can yield to something else, but then I want to come back to the Cable Commission.
Okay, Councilmember Strong.
As the newly minted ambassador to the 9 North, I just wanted to make sure that people understand the value of this resource to them. It is our public access, which had previously been funded by Cable Commission. And it is amazing to me how many people still retain cable.
Yeah, I was going to say it's still funded by cable, but the dollars go down each year.
Yes, but each year less and less people have cable television, and then there's less resources. But it is an amazing resource where they're really they are our local news station. They are at all our city events. They're at basketball games and hockey games, and they are kind of what we do to document our small town. And so I think it's really valuable, and so I think, as mentioned, Woodbury and their consortium in the South Washington area were able to utilize the broadband franchise, and so I would be supportive of retaining that on as one of our other priorities, at least joining, I think Mr. Bradley and 9 North are really leading the charge, but as part of 9 North, I think it's important that we keep our connection.
So this is a legislative priority, and we are asking the legislature to give us permission
Yep,
to do it?
I thought it got moved to the
Right,
maybe.
so, yeah, I mean, I would say it's no longer a legislative priority if we can do it anyway.
Yeah.
I think the thing we want to focus on then is doing it. Yeah, yeah,
Yep. And then I just had one comment about the letter moratorium to, in the addition, I just, a little pause on provision of financial resources to impacted landlords. I can see that being a small landlord or who is maybe having loss of funds, but I certainly wouldn't want to try to make whole some private equity firm that
think-
is using
oh,
the funds. So I just want to make sure, and I know that it's really up to them how they decide, but I want to make sure that it doesn't somehow come off that we are saying every person who is losing funds is getting equal access to funding.
I think as I was reading this, I was thinking instead of impacted landlords and homeowners, that it would be impacted renters and homeowners. I would like to see the aid go directly to the renters because they're the ones who are supposed to be able to pay their rent to avoid eviction, and that would make the most sense to me. And then it goes ultimately to landlords, but at least the renters are A, not getting evicted, and B, able to maintain the good standing with their rent. Councilmember Groff.
Yeah, I would agree with that last comment. That makes sense. Cable commissions, yeah, I think that's a good resolution there. Sprinkler systems, I'm a little uncertain about that because of the cost of retrofitting buildings. Of course, we want to save lives, but I think we need to look at when that would be done. I think it's kind of a complicated question. I would leave it on here because there are details to be worked out, but I just want to express that now that that's not something easy to do to all these old buildings.
Does it make sense to add that we want some sort of financial framework to be put together to help that happen?
Well, I would prefer that because, when you start in, it could cost more to put that in the building than the building's worth in some cases, so.
Potentially.
Just a question. And then I guess the only other thing would be, is this this legislative one for federal? Would that be something we could do?
Yeah, so one of the things we've heard from residents, in fact, even just this evening, was the notion of perhaps adding a federal legislative priority that would ask our federal representatives to push for legislation to require federal enforcement officers to not be masked doing their normal business and to show ID and identify themselves as other agencies and other officers at other levels of government are required either by policy or law to do around the country. Obviously, there can be exceptions for certain undercover operations, just like we have in our own policy, but I think it might be something we want to urge our federal legislators to also pursue as legislation, rather than being dependent on agencies to hopefully do the right thing in that regard. So that's a new addition, open for council thoughts or discussion.
Well, I think it's a good idea. I know it's kind of a heavy lift. But I think putting it out there at least is a start, and maybe others will follow us, and with many voices, maybe we could get some attention. I don't think we have trouble with our local representatives on the national level here, but there are others in the state that are national representatives that we need to pressure to do this kind of work so that we do have identifications. Because I understand totally what we heard tonight about being taken away by people with masks on is a very, very threatening thing. In my opinion, it's like being kidnapped. That's what I would see it as. So that's why I would support this.
Other thoughts from council members? Councilmember Bauer?
I would support this as well. I think there is probably it's a good time to do it as well. I think be receptive. I think there's a way for us, even though we're local and we're talking about federal, we can still probably work it up through the League of Minnesota Cities because there is a national League of Cities as well. So I think going through that route, they'll be able to aggregate and maybe bring in more cities and do that. So I'm comfortable doing that. I think there is, we can put some weight that I can take it back to the League of Minnesota Cities as something and see how far we can get with that.
I'm going to be on a call with Congresswoman McCollum tomorrow morning, so I'll make sure to bring it up there.
Excellent.
Unless you all say not to.
Nope.
That doesn't seem to be the case. All right, Councilmember Schroeder?
Yeah, and I agree with Councilmember Bauer there because I think bringing it up to the league because there's 800 cities in that organization, and I think the higher levels we can bring it to, the bigger the voice sounds.
The more
So
area
so
of the
so I
state.
do like that idea of him carrying the torch up to the next level as well.
Other thoughts from council members on that? Councilmember Bauer, you had yielded before.
Yes. Regarding the franchise fees, I would argue it's not settled. If you look at what happened in Woodbury, they worked with a willing broadband provider in open access. They did not try to there's nothing that hasn't been tried, hasn't been taken to court as far as like what they've done and produced. So I do think you're still going to need, I still think it should be a legislative priority, but I do think it has been tested to say existing broadband providers to needed franchise fees, like what it's by Minnesota law for utilities that we currently have, power and gas. So if we want to do that, also if you look at Woodbury, that's a new provider. There's an agreement they have to bring in a build out. It's all brand new stuff over 5 years. It's a unique situation that Woodbury found itself in that they were able to take advantage that I don't believe applies to our situation nor the situation in many metro cities, especially in the inner ring. So I'd be in favor of still keeping it a other priority because I do think you're going to need it because I think if you were trying to do that with existing broadband providers, it would be quickly litigated, and I'm not so sure you would be able to stand on it. The court cases that they have allow them to do it in this particular case, but no one's actually testing that law. per se.
Certainly, and we, just on the cable franchising side of things, the example would be is that we had another cable provider come into the marketplace briefly in the I think it was the 2010, 2015 timeframe. It was the former US West, whatever they were called at that particular time.
CenturyLink.
CenturyLink, yeah. Anyway, they did agree to a franchise to provide cable services under the fact that we had a franchise requirement in place. So I think it's potentially possible that new providers, even if somebody is sort of grandparented in, can be impacted positively by the current scenario, but I don't disagree that we could keep this as something that we continue to ask for at the legislature. We have, despite having testified in favor of it a couple of times over the last couple of years, we never had moved it up to a high priority. It was always kind of an other priority, so that's probably where it goes.
There are other situations that murk this up because broadband, if it is that definition, there's plenty of things that are in broadband but actually aren't consumer. They're business, and where do we draw those lines? There's just a lot of things that are not settled.
Fair enough. All right. Other thoughts from Councilor? Oh, Mr. Trudgeon.
So, took all those notes, so reminder, I'll bring this all back here. So I'll work on that federal priority and about the R2 sprinkling, about a financial framework. We'll keep the franchise fees in there. Just with the eviction moratorium, since time is of the essence, I scratched really quick, rough wording here, and just want to run that by you just to see if that's okay. So that sentence would read, a temporary moratorium period with clear state guidance and coordinated implementation and provision of financial resources, including granting authority and flexibility to cities to utilize LAHA funding to assist impacted renters and homeowners.
Yes, that's good. I think that could work.
Yeah. Okay.
Did we need to add, besides eviction, the notion of foreclosure? I don't know. That wasn't part of, I don't think, what was done during COVID, if I remember right.
No, I don't think so, yeah.
But anyway.
I think we should add foreclosure to that as well. It makes it very clear that we're talking both
Homeownership
renters
and
and
renting.
yes.
Well,
So that would add to wherever it's mentioning eviction moratorium,
Yeah,
that would be
yeah.
eviction and foreclosure.
so a temporary eviction and foreclosure moratorium
Right.
would be the
And
title. of
and
the
it's,
letter.
and it is definitely targeted based on need, as I seem to recall.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
All right. Anything else you needed clarified, Mr. Trudgeon?
No, I don't think so.
All right.
Discussion.
We do want to provide an opportunity also for members of the public, now that we've had a bit of conversation about it, if there was somebody from the public who wished to comment on the proposed legislative priorities, this would be the opportunity at this time.
I'd like to speak to the eviction moratorium. Is that still?
Yes, it's part of our
Yes.
conversation right now. It's very relevant.
Perfect. Well, I initially came to urge you to vote in favor of this resolution, but seeing as you guys are amenable to amendments, I'd like to offer some of my own.
Would you be able to introduce yourself?
Yes, sorry. I'm just so excited.
No,
My
all
name
right.
is Callie, and I'm a resident of Roseville off of Lovell Avenue.
All right, and if you want, after you're done, you can just sign your name on that chart, and then we'll have your spelling for the record.
Awesome. Thank
Thanks.
you. So I was reading through the proposed resolution for Roseville and comparing that to the resolution that the Minneapolis City Council proposed. And knowing the context that unfortunately Mayor Fry did not sign onto this resolution that the council unanimously voted for, I think that context is important when we're discussing the language in the Roseville one being so soft compared to the Minneapolis one. And so I'd like to highlight some of the differences that I noticed. The language in the Minneapolis proposal includes escalating violence, threatening and violent attacks, threat of violent and abduction, displacement and homelessness. And comparing that to some of the language in the Roseville one, it feels soft in so as it's uncertainty, fear, it's negatively affecting. And I would just urge you to remember the maybe 7+ hours of testimony that you've heard over the past 2 council meetings pertaining to multiple resolutions that you guys have addressed, urging you to be more firm and resolute in the language that you're proposing. And again, given that the Minneapolis one didn't pass, and assuming that you guys will unanimously vote to pass this, given you have all signed off on the letter already, you are not just representing Roseville at this point. You will perhaps be one of the leading cities preparing an eviction notice for Governor Walz. And so I'd urge you to think about the fact that you're representing Minneapolis to a degree because their mayor has failed them in, not signing this resolution. And so the words that you guys choose are more important than ever. Mayor Rowe, you just said something along the lines of, don't focus on doing, just do it if you have the power. And so on line 42, it says the city council seeks to act and uphold these values. Well, don't seek to act, just act. This is an act, and I'm not getting the sense of urgency that this moment is really needing, and especially the beautiful statement you guys just gave talking about condemning the division and the harm that's being produced. Where is that? Why is that not in here? Why is that not translating directly in this resolution and more aptly in the letter? So I would urge you to consider, addressing some more powerful language because everything in here is true. But everything the community is telling you is to be more direct and a little more assertive and forceful because what's happening is forceful against our communities. It's harmful, and I think you guys know that. And lastly, I'll end by saying my boyfriend wanted to note that there was a minor spelling error on the version that I have.
I identify with your boyfriend.
Okay.
Yes, he does.
So again, thank you. I hope to see you all vote in favor of this resolution. But before, hopefully this doesn't get caught up in, the procedural paralysis, I do hope that you will consider some amendments. And sorry, lastly, you're talking about standing alongside the community members in your statement, and that language is not here, but I'd urge you to revisit the Minneapolis one. They do have a specific line where they say the council stands alongside our neighbors, and the only reason that I bring that up is because I don't see that listed anywhere besides in your letter saying that you stand ready to support the state, and I urge you to stand with the people. Thank
you for your comments. I appreciate the additions. I think probably part of what happened is that we had one written before the other, and so we can grab from one to augment the other now, or the other way around.
Yeah.
So thank you for your feedback on that.
Yes, thank you.
And we'll definitely check on that spelling error. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to speak to proposed legislative priorities?
Hello,
Hello,
Mayor. Hi, council members. My name is Jessie Austin O'Neill, and I live at 464 Glenwood Avenue in Roseville. I'm here today to express support for the eviction moratorium resolution and letter before you today, and specifically just wanted to note that the government or the governor's office has precedent for establishing a moratorium like this. We know 6 years ago that they put in place one because of the crisis caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. And while the COVID pandemic did cause enormous inequities in health, in economics, the difference here is that this crisis is an intentional one caused and targeted at our most vulnerable community members, which makes something like this even more important. I'm also heartened to hear that you're looking into distributing local resources for rental and mortgage assistance. I look forward to hearing what comes of that. And I appreciate the sentiments that my fellow neighbor shared, but hope that I'm not super familiar with all of the procedural stuff. I would encourage you to take what you can now, but not sacrifice expediency to nitpick the language. So I'll yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to speak to our legislative priorities?
Hello again, Carrie
welcome.
Gelly, Highway 36 and Dale Street. And, if it is accurate and correct to say that the governor has the authority to act quicker or sooner than waiting for the legislative session, I would encourage the council and this might be reiterating what other folks have said, if there's any way to act on this faster, because we're like 5 days away from rent being due. So if we could potentially impact something for February 1st rent due, I think that would be great. I would try to move that way if at all possible, and if not, just do it as soon as possible. So, thank you.
Great, thank you. Appreciate those comments. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? All right, seeing no one, then we'll close the public comment on the legislative priorities. And perhaps what we can do, depending on the council's feeling about it, and perhaps also our legal counsel's feeling about it, is that we can authorize the letter and the resolution to be sent pending the final edits. And I think the letter is easier to perhaps leave to final edits. Resolutions tend to be actions of the city council. We could always follow up the letter with the final resolution if we need to take official action on it. But I'll turn it over to council members and/or staff and/or the attorney to feedback. Councilmember Bach.
Take a shot. I'm comfortable with the resolution as it is. Yes, we could add more language. I mean, the resolution is directed towards, and the letter is directed towards the governor who can take action, which I feel understands the situation, and this is showing our support. I don't believe we have to as much convince him that these things are going on. So adding more language to it, I don't know is going to change his mind from what he already has. I think he's very well aware of what's taking place. The language here, as some say, is avoiding some of those things, is a hope to probably grab more people to be supportive of it and not push them off if it is trying to throw a bigger tent, if you will. And so for that reason, and also the expediency of just agreeing to it right now and moving it forward, I think is sufficient.
Other thoughts, Councilmember Schroeder?
Yeah, and I agree. I think speed is more important than trying to change it. So we did make that one change, and I think it would be I'd be supportive of just passing it with that one change, and let's just get it out and get it out, And let's not spend more time wordsmithing it, I guess, because I think the other piece is the governor. The main thing is we want him to know we are supporting this and this is what we want, and he's going to write it his way anyways, but I think I want to get it out sooner than later.
Other thoughts from council members? Councilmember Groff?
Yeah, I think that the time is of the essence here. I mean, we can always improve on documents, but really we need to get something out now, and we need to do it quickly. These documents are written in a certain way that might sound, not as strong to you, but they do have all the statements in place. And I think we need to move forward with it tonight if we can get that agreed to.
Right. Is there a motion from the council?
So moved.
Second.
All right, so the motion, just to be clear,
Yes.
is to adopt the resolution and approve the letter to the governor. The resolution as presented and the letter with the changes. I don't know if we have to track the same changes in the resolution that we made to the letter. I apologize, I can't find my copy of the resolution in front of me, and I am.
It's up on the screen here. So we
Okay.
do say eviction moratorium, so I would just add and foreclosure
Okay.
moratorium. And wherever, if you give me the ability, wherever that needs to be added, we'll add that to the final resolution before it's signed.
Do you want us to sign this evening?
The letter,
Sign the
yes.
letter.
I hopefully have a copy ready,
Okay.
or at least the signature page, but the resolution, we can go into to speak that based on your direction, and I'm the one that signs that, so
Okay.
sign that tomorrow.
Right, we have the motion before us then to approve those items from Councilmember Groff as the maker of the motion. Discussion on the motion.
I think we've discussed enough things.
Okay. Councilmember Strawn is the seconder. All right, other discussion? All right, in talk about expediency, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor signify, and then once again, this is to adopt the resolution and approve sending the letter. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? That passes unanimously. And I did just want to note for the public, thank you. It does look like we are all signed off on the letter, but we don't have our signatures on the letter yet. It's a draft. But now, once we sign it, it will be the official letter.
will have
So
it.
just to clarify that. Then, anything else on the legislative priorities? It didn't sound like there was any objection to adding the federal priority, and that's a high priority. All right, and then we'll get going on that right away as well. won't hold off for the final document. If there's nothing else, then, Mr. Trudgeon, I think you've got your guidance, and we'll
I
be
do.
bringing this back at a February 9th meeting?
February 9th.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Very good. That concludes our business items this evening. We have a couple of very important meeting minutes to review and approve, as well as those consent items. First, the meeting minutes. We have the meeting minutes of our January 5th and January 12th council meetings. We've had an opportunity to review those and provide feedback to staff, and the final drafts with that feedback are before the council this evening. Are there any further changes or corrections that need to be made, or a motion to approve as presented?
Motion approved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved by Councilmember Bauer, seconded by Councilmember Groff to approve both minutes as presented. Is there any discussion on that motion? Right, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Those meeting minutes are approved. That brings us to our consent agenda. None of the items were removed for separate consideration. Mr. Treasurer, would you give us a brief breakdown of the consent items as they are presented this evening?
All right. Item 10A approves payments in the amount of $2,218,381.60. Item 10B approves a temporary liquor license to St. Rosa Lima Church and School for an event on March 21st, and a temporary gambling permit for Whitetails Unlimited for a raffle on March 21st at the Doubletree Hotel. Item 10C approves the purchase of a new water fountain pump, 500 new recycling carts, and an expenditure for a subscription to stormwater monitoring software. Agenda item 10D receives the grant report. To date, the city has received $63,000 in grant funds. Agenda item 10E approves a short-term rental license for 329 South Owasso. Agenda item 10F approves the renewal of the short-term rental license for 770 Heinel. And agenda item 10G approves the renewal for the short-term rental license for 1901 Ryan Avenue. Item H approves the entering into an agreement with Kimley Horn to complete the environmental assessment worksheet in the amount of $19,000 for the Willow Pond dredging project. Willow Pond dredging project. Item 10I approves a conditional use permit for motor vehicle repair at 2150 Hamlin Avenue. Item 10J approves agreements between the city and Metro INET for financial personnel services and a lease for the Metro INET data center. Item 10K approves the donation from the Midway Speed Skating Club for travel expenses for 2 park department staff to travel to the 2026 Junior World Speed Skating Championships in Germany. The city of Roseville will host the 2028 Junior World Speed Skating Championships at the Oval, and this trip will be beneficial for staff to learn about the strategies and expectations of being a host site for an international competition, as well as what the ice conditions and expectations would be for that event. There will be no city funds expended as part of this trip. And finally, item 10L approves entering into a professional services agreement with EKDA for the pathway feasibility study of the Aldine Street right-of-way. And that is the consent agenda.
All right, thank you, Mr. Trudgeon. Is there a motion from the council on the consent items?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Strawn, second by Councilmember Groff to approve the consent items as presented. Discussion, Councilmember Strawn.
Yes, there's been some consternation about 770 Heinel Drive. I wanted to share some information. I had asked if there was possibility to conduct a rental log that, like a hotel registry, that could be utilized. Unfortunately, that would be very limited on who could obtain that and for what purpose. I also reached out to ensure that there were no more than 4 unrelated adults in the home as indicated by our ordinance, and that was the case. We have also put into place a minimum stay of 7 days for, to ensure that we were not having a constant cycle. We are told that the renters of concern are no longer in the home, and other than this particular incident, we have been told of no other violations or complaints related to this individual. This person who owns the home has been very receptive to us and has been very willing to work with us to make sure that the neighbors, and had to work with the neighborhood quite a lot to try to quell their fears as their own, as they also were someone who could potentially be in harm's way if they were renting to someone who was related to ICE. But again, we're told that any renters of concern have been vacated, and our concern is telling someone who they can and cannot have occupy their space is a challenge. So I don't know. I've had a lot of communication with Attorney Tierney if she had anything to add on that. No.
I'm happy to answer any questions, but I don't have anything to add. Thank you.
Well, as I understand it, there are limitations as to how we can restrict who can avail themselves of lodging at public establishments in the community. Maybe that's a question, a broad question about that.
That is a broad question.
Yes.
What I will tell you is I don't know that I've ever seen a regulation like that, and I'm not sure what a legal basis would be to impose one. Certainly a research project at the best case scenario.
I would tend to, just on the face of it, be a little concerned about constitutionality and protecting rights, but also it is good to know that rental has run its course, and those individuals that were there are no longer there as part of that. The indication that the owner had was that the individuals were engineers who were working on a project in the area. And that's, there's no way necessarily to verify that, obviously, and puts our small residential homeowners in a very difficult position in terms of trying to police that, and very fearful of losing their ability to use a national entity to process their rentals and help with their financial needs. So anyway, with that, we do have the motion before us. I don't believe there was anything else that I wanted to comment on. Was there anything else other council members wish to speak to? All right, we have the motion before us. All those in favor? Oh, not
No,
on
it's
the
kind of-
consent agenda. We
Perfect.
provided that opportunity earlier in the meeting.
Perfect.
All right, with that, we've got the motion before us. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Those items are approved. That then brings us to the future agenda review, and just in response to a question that came up earlier in the meeting, the future agenda review is our best estimate at this point of future agendas as they may come up, and certainly the final agenda for any given meeting can change up to the point when it's released to the public. But that we try to make sure, both for the benefit of the council as well as the benefit of the community, that as best we can, we provide a prediction as to when things will come forward. And I think there are some things that we discussed at our last meeting, for instance, that may not be listed here yet, because we're trying to slot them in based on what we know at the time and what else is on the agenda. So with that preamble, I'll turn it over to Mr. Trudgeon to just briefly run through what we have for now on the future agendas. But I do note a new
Yes.
piece of documentation.
Before I jump in, I won't read all this. So in an effort to just make sure there's better connections, what the commission work is doing with the council and the public, we wanted to have a summary. I know most of you listen, watch, read the minutes of the commission, so you're quite familiar. But we wanted to have a summary each time. We would just include once a month in the packet kind of what they've been working on, so get you a little bit more familiarity as well as the rest of the public. So this is 2 pages. This will be in our council packet moving forward. So in regard to the future agenda, yes, Mr. Mayor, actually this was printed before our meeting even happened on Thursday. This was out the door. So it is a fluid document for sure, and it's something that we do update. We don't always include everything because we're still working through the details. However, our next meeting is February 9th. We have several things on there, and probably the biggest discussion would be the strategic plan. We do want to go over the objectives and going to have staff present that. So it's something that we want to present and share with you and get feedback on. So we do want to make sure we have appropriate time to do that. This is a really important document we've been working on for the last 18 months, and we want to make sure we can integrate that into our budgeting cycle and things like that. The legislative priorities as well we'll bring back for approval. Also want to bring back kind of a joint project between engineering and Parks and Rec about Pascal Street by Kaya Park, about some traffic calming measures they've been taking. I don't know what all the findings are yet. I haven't seen them at least, but they want to talk about that. We have the fireworks contract and the final payment for the pavement management plan. Reminder, on February 17th and perhaps the 19th, we have commission interviews for our vacancies. I was just asked when the deadline was. I don't know off the top of my head here, but it's coming up soon. So if you have folks you want to reach out to urge them, please have them contact us.
Probably that first week of, exactly.
Probably
First week of
maybe February 6th, next Friday.
Yeah, because we usually need about 10 days to put together the packets and everything.
On February 23rd, we have scheduled a couple things. One is the EDA meeting. This was something we originally scheduled for the 12th. So we've just moved that whole agenda to the 23rd. And Some of them are fairly routine items. Obviously, the discussion related to housing programs, the ongoing EDA funding is a really big discussion. We have a lot of material in the packet, and certainly it's a dynamic situation as far as, dealing with the issues here in front of us today. So we'll be prepared for that discussion. And at the regular council meeting that night, we have a couple things, but you can see there about Visit Roseville coming. There is the Minnesota State Patrol Utility Agreement. They have purchased a building behind Target and building their new headquarters there. And then looking to accept a donation, a large donation at the Harriet Alexander Nature Center for a nature playground. So we want to put out an RFP for somebody to help. Nature play. That's a misspelling too.
We didn't hear about that one.
Nature play.
At he.
Yeah, and so we want to issue an RFP for a designer on that. So that's what we have coming up.
Right, and so February 23rd, EDA meeting, for those listening to our discussion earlier about use of our funds for helping with housing assistance, that's that discussion, that last bullet on the 23rd. All right, questions from the council or feedback on the future agendas? Any council member initiated items for future meetings or council reports or announcements? All right, hearing none. The only other thing we have left on our agenda is adjournment. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Groff, seconded by Councilmember Bauer to adjourn. No discussion on a motion to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously, and we are adjourned at 7:31 PM. Thank you, everyone.